Welcome to this deep dive into the life of a guy I think most people are pretty familiar with at this point, Elon Musk. But we're really going to focus on what made him who he is today.
Yeah.
We've got some incredible source material, like seriously some amazing stuff, all about his childhood experiences and how those might be reflected in his personality and leadership style.
It's really fascinating.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of innovation, I guess you could say that's kind of what we're talking about today with Elon Musk. We got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Cloutfit.ai.
Mm-hmm.
They're a B2B fashion commerce platform that uses AI to boost user engagement and ultimately increase client revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So if you found this episode useful, pass it on to someone who, really loves fashion tech, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, I think that that's a really great connection because we're talking about Elon Musk, who's really a prominent figure in AR.
Absolutely.
And today, we're going back to his beginnings
Yeah.
and really trying to understand, what forces were at play that shaped him into this person who wants to colonize Mars and revolutionize transportation.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, let's unpack this childhood.
okay.
One quote that really stood out to me was, and I'm quoting here correctly from one of the sources, "Adversity shaped me. My pain threshold became very high."
Hmm.
Almost sounds like contentment is something to be avoided.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's such a striking statement, and it
Yeah.
really suggests a deep connection to these early experiences that he had, especially his relationship with his father.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, the sources paint a very difficult picture.
Yeah.
They describe a lot of verbal abuse,
Right.
and it had a really profound impact on Musk
Yeah.
and even affected his sleep. Can you imagine carrying that weight with you?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's really heartbreaking too because, they talked about how he would even recount these memories,
Yes.
like even as an adult,
Especially,
especially during periods of extreme stress.
yeah.
Um, it really speaks volumes about the impact that those experiences had on him.
It really does.
Yeah.
And you think about 2008
Oh, yeah. That was a rough year.
when SpaceX was facing a lot of setbacks
Yeah.
and Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy.
Uh-huh.
He would wake up
Oh, wow.
reliving, these harsh words that his father had said to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really heavy.
Yeah.
There's also this recurring theme of loneliness throughout his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
In one source, he says, quote, "I never want to be alone."
Wow.
Like you can almost feel the depth of that need for connection.
That's a really powerful statement, and it makes you think, how are these early experiences of isolation reflected in what he's doing today?
Right?
Could it be that he's driven by this subconscious desire to create a world where connection is paramount, where humanity is never truly alone?
Yeah.
Think about, SpaceX. Is he trying to build this multiplanetary society as a safeguard against isolation?
Interesting.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the negative aspects of his childhood, but there's another figure in his life who might have had a more positive influence.
Okay.
His maternal grandfather, Joshua Haldeman.
Yes.
What can you tell us about him?
Well, Joshua Haldeman was an adventurer,
Oh,
kind of a maverick.
okay.
He traded chiropractic adjustments,
I know.
right, for food and lodging.
Wow.
There are even stories about him breaking horses.
Wow.
So he clearly wasn't afraid of taking risks.
He sounds like a character.
Right, and you
Yeah.
can almost see a parallel to Musk's own ventures, right?
Yeah.
SpaceX, Tesla, all pushing boundaries, challenging conventional wisdom.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like maybe some of that risk-taking spirit was just passed down through the family.
Right, it's like they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Exactly.
And even in Musk's early years, you see signs of both brilliance
Yeah.
and, those social challenges that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
He was fascinated by science fiction,
Uh-huh.
dreamed of space travel, devoured books like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, I love that book.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But he also struggled to connect with his peers. He would often call them stupid.
I mean, I could see how that would make it hard to make friends.
Right.
It sounds like his mind was already operating on a different level.
Yeah,
Maybe struggling to relate to those who didn't share his kind of intellectual intensity.
I think so.
Do you think there's a connection between that and his management style later on?
Oh, absolutely.
Like the infamous Musk blowtorch that some employees describe?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, that refers to his intense and demanding style.
Yeah.
And it's possible that those early experiences of feeling different and misunderstood
Hmm.
contributed to his difficulty in, relating to others on a conventional level.
Yeah.
He might have developed a defense mechanism of intellectual superiority,
Uh-huh.
which, as you pointed out, can cause friction in interpersonal relationship.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially in the workplace.
absolutely.
Speaking of contradictions, though, I came across this anecdote about Musk's trip to America with his father.
Oh, yeah.
They drove across the country, but they skipped Disney World because it was too expensive.
Isn't that ironic?
It's pretty wild, right?
The man who is now sending people to
I
space
know.
couldn't afford a trip to Disney World as a kid.
Crazy.
Yeah, it gives us a glimpse into his father's character, too.
Yeah.
This mix of extravagance, a renting a Thunderbird for the trip,
Right.
and penny pinching when it came to, experiences for his children.
It makes you wonder, if that maybe fueled some of Musk's drive to be financially secure,
Sure.
to ensure that he could create those opportunities, for himself and for his family.
Yeah, definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse when his parents divorced.
Okay.
And his mother, May, faced significant financial strain.
This seems like a really pivotal moment in his life.
Absolutely.
The sources describe May, really struggling to make ends meet, buying secondhand clothes for the children.
Yeah,
And meanwhile, Errol would send them back to their mother without any of their belongings.
I know. It's so sad.
Yeah, seemingly as a way to control and pressure May.
Yeah, it speaks to the power dynamics at play in their relationship.
Yeah.
And it must have taken an emotional toll on your equal and his siblings.
Yeah, absolutely.
During this period, he actually lived with his father for a time.
Okay.
And the sources suggest that that might have contributed to his later drive to succeed.
Interesting.
Almost as if he was determined to escape the shadow of his father's negativity and prove himself.
Yeah, it's a classic tale of resilience, but also potentially, with some emotional scars.
Right.
This difficult period culminates with Musk escaping to Canada.
Ah, yes. This is where his journey takes a fascinating turn.
I know, I love this part of the story.
He arrives in Canada, sleeps on his backpack in a youth hostel.
Really?
I know.
Wow.
And eventually embarks on this cross-country bus adventure.
Wow, so resourceful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Speaks to his resourcefulness and adaptability, even in the face of challenging circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, he had to rely on his whips and make the most of what he had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long before that independent spirit ignited his entrepreneurial sparks.
That's right.
Remember his plan to open a video game arcade with his cousins?
Of course, and that classic story about him hacking the mall arcade game
Yes!
so they could play for free.
Classic Musk.
I know.
It foreshadows his later disdain for unnecessary regulations and his willingness to push boundaries, even if it means disrupting the status quo.
It's that whole move fast and break things mentality
Exactly.
applied to video games.
Exactly.
It's amazing to think that even back then, you could see glimpses of the Elon Musk we know today.
Right.
And even though that arcade dream didn't work out, those formative years in Canada clearly planted the seeds for his future ambitions.
Absolutely.
He landed in Canada, this young man with a thirst for knowledge and a drive to make a mark on the world.
Yes.
Really sets the stage for the next chapter of his
Yeah.
story.
And what a chapter it is.
I know, right?
But before we dive into the founding of Zip2 and the rise of Elon Musk, the tech titan, we need to circle back to that complex relationship with his father, Errol.
Oh, yeah.
There's a later incident where Musk tries to mend fences by purchasing a house for Errol and his family.
Okay.
But as you might expect, things quickly soured.
Oh, no.
Some wounds run too deep to ever fully heal.
It's true.
Yeah,
That's a powerful reminder of the lasting impact of family dynamics.
it is.
Even for someone who achieves extraordinary success,
Yeah,
it adds another layer to understanding Musk's sometimes guarded emotional nature.
absolutely.
You can see how these childhood experiences, especially with his father, might have contributed to that.
For sure, that conflicted relationship likely played a significant role in shaping his leadership style, his views on family, and maybe even his grand ambitions.
Right.
Like he's trying to create a world where those same traumas and disappointments don't have the power to hold people back.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
So from a childhood marked by loneliness and adversity emerges this driven, visionary figure determined to push the boundaries of technology and in many ways rewrite the future of humanity,
It's true.
and all this before he even turned 30.
Amazing.
It's truly an incredible story, and we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore. Stay with us, and we'll delve deeper into Elon Musk's work ethic, his unique vision, and his approach to leadership, which is unlike anything we've ever seen.
It's going to be good.
It is. Welcome back. Now that we've kind of explored his childhood,
Yeah.
let's see if we can connect the dots to his adult life. What really stood out to you about his personality?
Honestly, it's the combination of brilliance and, uh, I don't know, dare I say recklessness.
Yeah.
I mean, whether he's hacking video games as a kid or, pushing engineers to trim a rocket engine skirt minutes before launch,
Right.
there's this consistent pattern of pushing limits, even if it means breaking a few rules along the way.
I think you've hit on a key element of Musk's personality, and that is his exceptionally high risk tolerance,
Yeah,
both in his personal life and his professional ventures.
totally.
There's a story about a poker game where he repeatedly went all in until he finally won.
Wow.
It perfectly illustrates his go big or go home philosophy.
It's true. It's like he's constantly living on the edge, always pushing the boundaries, what's possible.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how do you think those challenging childhood experiences that we talked about
Right.
might have contributed to this?
Well, it's impossible to say for sure, but it's likely that those early struggles played a role in shaping his approach to risk.
Yeah,
Perhaps facing down real hardship in his youth made taking big risks in business feel less daunting in comparison.
right. Like it's almost not even a comparison.
Right.
Yeah,
Maybe it even fueled a sense of invincibility.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that resilience, I mean, it translates directly into his legendary work ethic,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
This is a man who regularly pulls all-nighters, sleeps on factory floors, and pushes his teams relentlessly.
I mean, is there anything he won't do?
It doesn't seem like it. He expects everyone around him to match his intensity and dedication.
I mean, the sources paint a picture of a demanding and often confrontational leader.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it's not always easy working for Elon Musk.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of one of his emails.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's known for setting audacious goals and demanding exceptional performance from his employees.
Right.
But, the demanding nature also yields results.
Yeah, it's true. He gets things done.
Remember the story about the Tesla factory redesign?
Yeah.
He placed the engineers' cubicles right next to the assembly line
Really?
so they could directly observe the impact of their designs.
I mean, talk about a hands-on approach.
right.
It's like he's saying there's no room for ivory tower thinking here.
Exactly. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
And he's obsessed with efficiency,
Oh, yeah.
constantly questioning why things are done a certain way and pushing for simplification.
Yeah, how many times have we heard that from him?
He famously advocates for deleting steps in any process.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
The boring company's tunnel boring machine?
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect example.
Tell me more about that.
So they redesigned the entire machine to eliminate the need for a vertical shaft,
Okay.
which is the traditional approach.
Got it.
And Musk's justification was the gopher in my yard doesn't dig a vertical shaft to build his tunnel, so why should...
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It's classic Musk.
It is so funny.
He isn't afraid to challenge conventional wisdom,
Oh,
even if it comes from, experienced engineers.
Right.
This relentless drive to improve, to put the boundaries of what's possible, it seems to be at the core of who he is.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's not satisfied with incremental progress and wants to make a giant leap forward.
Right.
But there has to be a downside to all this intensity,
Oh,
right?
of course.
It can't all be smooth sailing.
His management style can be abrasive, even toxic at times.
Really?
Sources describe him as being prone to outbursts
Oh, wow.
and quick to fire those who don't meet his expectations.
Oh, my gosh.
It's that blowtorch analogy, again, intensely focused, but potentially scorching those who get too close.
Yeah, that's scary.
Right.
I mean, it makes you wonder, is this kind of leadership style sustainable in the long run?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. It's a delicate balance, but, you can't argue with his results.
That's true.
He's built multiple successful companies,
Right.
achieved milestones in space travel that were once considered impossible,
Yeah.
and spearheaded the widespread adoption of electric vehicles.
I mean, it's hard to deny that he's been super successful.
It is.
So what do you think is the driving force behind this man?
Right.
I mean, is it pure ego, a desire to prove himself to the world, or is there something deeper at play?
That's the key question, isn't it?
It is.
Remember that quote from earlier?
Yeah.
I never want to be alone.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Perhaps his ambitious ventures, colonizing Mars, transitioning to sustainable energy, even merging humans with AI,
Right.
are all driven by a deep-seated desire for connection,
Interesting.
for ensuring the survival of humanity,
Okay.
for creating a future where loneliness and isolation are relics of the past.
It's like he's on a mission to solve the ultimate existential crisis.
Right.
Not just for himself, but for all of humanity.
Exactly.
It's inspiring and a little bit frightening.
Yeah, it raises a fascinating possibility. Could it be that he's driven by this need to fix humanity,
Yeah.
to protect us from the very forces that caused him so much pain in his own life, loneliness, conflict? the inherent fragility of life on Earth?
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
It really is.
But before we get too lost in the philosophical weeds, let's shift our focus to Musk's personal life.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that.
The sources don't shy away from the complexities of his romantic relationships, his marriages, and his children. What did you find most striking about this aspect of his life?
His personal life has been, well, a bit tumultuous, to say the least.
It has been, hasn't it?
Multiple marriages, divorces, even a brief reconciliation. It seems like he deeply craves connection,
Yeah.
but struggles with intimacy and the compromises that often come with long-term relationships.
Yeah, and then there's that unsettling incident with his father and his stepdaughter.
Right.
It's a reminder that even the most successful people carry baggage from their past,
Yeah.
and those unresolved issues can resurface in unexpected and painful ways.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
And that incident in particular raises questions about how those unresolved issues with his father might be influencing his own relationships
right.
and parenting style.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing a pattern here, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
Ambition, brilliance, ruthlessness,
Yeah.
and a deep-seated need for connection.
All intertwined in
Yeah.
this complex and often contradictory figure.
It's true.
Yeah.
And as we delve into the later years of his career, we'll see those same traits magnified on a global stage,
Exactly.
playing out in his bold business decisions, his controversial statements,
Yeah.
and his relentless pursuit of a future that he alone seems to envision.
This is where things get really wild.
Oh, I know.
The Twitter takeover.
Oh, yeah.
The battles with the SEC.
Uh-huh.
The push for full self-driving
Oh,
technology.
no.
It's like watching a real-life science fiction movie unfold in real time.
It really is.
Hold on tight because the roller coaster ride is just beginning.
Oh, boy.
Stay with us as we continue our deep dive into the world of Elon Musk, exploring the triumphs, the controversies, and the unanswered questions that surround one of the most influential figures of our time.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Last we left off, we were talking about his personal life and how those early experiences might be influencing his behavior on a global stage.
Right, and it's on that global stage where we see those familiar patterns.
Yeah.
The ambition, the brilliance, a disregard for convention, and a deep-seated need for connection, all playing out in even more dramatic ways.
It's like watching a high-stakes game unfold in real time, with Musk constantly making these bold moves, pushing boundaries, and often courting controversy in the process. I mean, the Twitter takeover
Oh, yeah.
is a prime example.
Yeah, it was surreal to watch, with Musk oscillating between these aggressive tactics and these moments of apparent self-doubt.
I know.
It was wild.
Yeah.
You have to remember, this is a man who once casually tweeted,
What was it?
"I'm going to build a tunnel boring machine and just start digging."
I remember that.
It's crazy.
I
He
know.
operates on instinct,
Yeah.
driven by a sense of urgency that can sometimes border on recklessness.
That's a good way to put it.
He doesn't seem bound by the same constraints
Right.
that limit most people.
It's as if he sees an obstacle, and his immediate response is to charge right through it.
Exactly.
Consequences be damned.
Consequences be damned.
And that impatience that need to move fast and break things, it often leads to conflict, doesn't it?
Oh, it definitely does. The sources describe clashes with engineers, executives, even his own board members.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
It's like he's conducting this high-stakes experiment,
it is.
constantly testing the limits of what's possible, pushing everyone around him to their breaking point.
Pushing everyone to their limits.
And sometimes even beyond. I mean, the stories about the Tesla Model 3 production ramp are almost legendary.
We are legendary. He was sleeping on the factory floor, pushing his engineers to redesign assembly lines on the fly, all in this desperate attempt to meet his ambitious production targets.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
He even famously ordered the removal of robots from the production line.
What?
I know.
Wow.
Claiming that humans could do the job better and faster.
Wow.
It's classic Musk thinking, he's not afraid to go against the grain, even if it means challenging established industry norms.
But this maverick approach comes with consequences, right?
Of course it does.
The SEC investigations, the lawsuits, the constant public scrutiny, it all takes a toll.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that his actions have consequences, but it's interesting to note that even his personal life seems to mirror that same level of intensity and turmoil.
Yeah, that's true.
Multiple relationships, high-profile breakups, children born via surrogate. It's as if he can't escape that drive to push boundaries,
Yeah.
even in his personal life.
It makes you wonder if at some level he's still seeking that sense of control that was so lacking in his childhood.
It's possible.
Yeah, maybe by shaping the world around him, he's trying to create a sense of order and stability that eluded him in his early years.
It's a thought-provoking idea, and through it all, we see that recurring theme of loneliness. Remember that quote,
Uh-huh.
"I never want to be alone"?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if beneath all the ambition and bravado, he's still searching for that deep connection, that sense of belonging that seemed to elude him as a child.
It's as if he's trying to outrun those early experiences of isolation by creating a future where humanity is connected, safe, and perhaps even immortal. A future that transcends the pain and limitations he experienced in his own life.
And that brings us to the ultimate question we're left with. Is Elon Musk a force for good,
Yeah?
a visionary leader who's shaping a better future for all of us? Or is he a reckless, self-absorbed disruptor who is leaving a trail of chaos in his wake?
There's no easy answer. He's a complex, contradictory figure who defies simple categorization.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, flawed, inspiring, and infuriating, often all at the same time.
And that's precisely what makes his story so captivating. He's a reflection of our own anxieties and aspirations, our fascination with technology and innovation, and our deep-seated desire to make sense of our place in the universe.
It's true.
He pushes us to confront uncomfortable questions about the future we're creating
Yeah.
and the role we each play in shaping it.
So where does Elon Musk go from here? What's the next chapter in this ongoing saga? It's a question we can all ponder.
It is.
Does he ultimately want to fix humanity?
Right.
Perhaps even save it from itself? Is this a subconscious drive stemming from his own desire to overcome early trauma and loneliness? These are complex questions with no easy answers.
What's clear is that Elon Musk is a force to be reckoned with, a man who's shaping the world in his own image, for better or worse. And his story, like all great stories, invites us to look inward and ask ourselves, what drives us? What are we willing to risk to achieve our dreams, and what legacy will we ultimately leave behind?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of Elon Musk. We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and given you some new insights into this fascinating and complex individual. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please share it with someone who you think might be interested in learning more about Elon Musk and the forces that shaped him. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of technology, innovation, and the human condition.